back, everybody, to HardHat Uncovered. We're coming to you from the studios in Washington, D.C. of HardHat Uncovered. Welcome back, Lieutenant Oates.
Hey, how you guys doing? Glad to be back.
Boy, you got that voice. That
What
very
voice?
white kind of.
Yeah, okay.
Welcome back, Dillanator.
What's going on, guys? Good to be back after a little break there.
Yep, we had a
Recharge, reset.
had to get over a little. Lost my voice in case our viewers were wondering what happened. So I'm
Junior,
about 98%.
He was yelling at us a lot, so he lost his voice.
Had to bust out with the bat, and get these guys back in line. So, but yep. So we're back, and we are ready to make it happen. Get the safety going back out into the world through our podcast. And I even actually want to give a shout out to Mike Cruz. I was talking with him yesterday, and he was the one who was bringing up about, hey, what's going on? Hadn't heard a podcast in a couple weeks.
You got to shut it down.
Yeah,
Can't handle the pressure of the fame.
That's right.
So thanks a lot, Mike, for checking up on us. We're still alive and kicking. We haven't had to put Lieutenant Oates in the dirt yet.
Not yet. Close, though. We close, but not yet.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about eye and face protection. That is something that, just like all of our topics, it's something that we see everywhere we go, something that we deal with, whether at home, in the office, work, construction sites, wherever it might be.
Yeah, this is a pretty common topic. What we're going to try to do is dive deeper and try to get some of the more specifics that maybe you don't know about why you're choosing what type of eye protection, face protection, and when each one's necessary. So we'll try not to make it too boring, because this is a pretty generic topic, but we'll try to get to some of the good information out there for you guys.
Yeah, and even though it is a generic topic, I mean, you're talking about, each year thousands of people are blinded,
right?
Have eye injuries, people lose an eye.
Well, I know, like, before we even started, the three of us sitting here, we all have at least one story of something on site that's happened to someone or someone we know, and somebody's had a serious incident that changed their lives forever.
Absolutely.
Yep. So we'll probably actually fill up some time with some of those personal experiences that we've seen, or just some of the the stories that we've got to hear. And somewhere in here, I might throw in the old good-looking Bob story. So I think that was in episode 1 or something
Very
like that.
Early,
yeah,
1 or 2 up there.
At the very beginning. So if you barely start listening, this will be a great story for you to listen to. But
good-looking Bob was back when it was only your mom and your wife listening. That's it.
that was it.
2 listeners.
Yep. And now we're up to 4.
Yeah.
Now that Mike Cruz,
hey, we doubled it.
Now that Mike Cruz is listening. Okay, so like I always talk about, some of the standards we're going to be referring to is the 1910-133 for eye protection, the 1926-102. If you're in the construction industry, so the ANSI and ICEA, which is the International Safety Equipment Association, Z87.1. If you're in Canada, Z94, like we just talked about.
Z94.3.
Yep. And the ISO standard 19734, which is eye and face protection guidance, on selection. So those are the standards that we're going to be referring to and talking about. So if you want to take a look into those and get a deeper dive, that's what you can reference. So, gentlemen, let's get into it.
Let's start at the top.
Let's go.
Yep.
The most common one, right? Safety glasses.
Yeah, safety glasses. So if we got to break down what safety glasses is, basically it's the things you put over your eyes to take care of them.
Boy, I hope you really didn't have to break that down.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, true.
You never know.
True. So there's a lot of different companies out there that make safety glasses. There's all sorts of brands. If you're a safety professional, listen to this. One of the first things I learned in the profession is if you spend a little more, get a nicer pair of safety glasses, your employees are more likely to wear them. So there's a lot of different companies out there you can test. I know we've used MCR in the past. There's Radians, Bollés. If you got a little more money, you get them Wiley X's, the real nice ones. Nemesis. Yeah, there's so many different brands. You just hook up with your rep, whether it's MSA or you have another type of safety distributor. and see what they got. And like I said, don't always cheap out on the safety glasses, because if they're uncomfortable and aren't nice looking, a lot of the guys will just throw them away. I know one of the first stories I had was a safety professional I worked with. They couldn't get people to wear safety glasses. They had a lot of guys on their crew that rode Harleys, so they actually ordered nice dark tinted safety glasses with Harley logos on them, and all of a sudden everybody starts wearing their safety glasses.
Everybody wanted a pair.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, when I used to ride motorcycles, I'd use my safety glasses to ride motorcycles.
Yep.
The wraparounds.
Yep.
So, and then, one of the things that we're going to jump to here in a little bit is that we were talking about actually before we started the podcast, is that if you're not aware, if you're a listener and you're not aware, all those colors and all those different sizes and shapes and models and all that, they do have a purpose. It's not just to make Lieutenant Oates look good when he's on the job site.
I want them blue ones. I want them blue tinted glasses.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so if you see them blue, if you'll ever see the blue tinted glasses or the clears or the ambers, the yellows, the browns, all of those colors, they actually serve a purpose.
Right.
And it's not to bring out the color in your eye.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, so we talked about safety glasses. Now, you can get glasses also that have additional upgrades or attachments that you can put on them. So, so if you've never heard of them, they're called either safety goggles or they're called spoggles. Now, the Wiley X, and I've had the same pair of Wiley X's for about 5 or 6 years now.
They're nice.
And and they have the phone line that you can have in there, but they're removable, so I can take those off when I don't need them. Let's say if I'm out somewhere and the wind starts picking up and dust starts flying everywhere, I can put those foam lines back in. I can replace them, if need be.
Yeah, and it's my personal opinion that it's worth the money to spend a little more on your safety glasses if you're responsible enough to keep track of them. Like, I've had my Wiley X's for probably 5 years now, maybe not quite, but they're just as nice as the day I bought them. So if you spend the money and get a nicer pair, it's worth it in the long run.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And you can actually buy replacement lenses.
Yeah.
Which I'm starting to actually look into. You can actually replace the lenses on a lot of them, Wiley X's and those ones that you do have to spend a little bit more money on, because the frames they're built to last. But sometimes you get that scratch right in the middle of your vision. That's where the scratch typically happens, right there in the middle.
Yep,
of the lens.
every time.
Never to the side. It's always right there in the middle.
Junior touched on it briefly earlier about the ANSI Z87. So that's the marking we're looking for on safety glasses. This is just a friendly reminder that your everyday sunglasses are not safety glasses. They don't meet that ANSI standard. That basically they're not going through the same testing process, and they're not capable of withstanding the different impacts and stuff like that. So I know a lot of guys like to wear Oakleys and different name brands like that. Most likely your Oakleys are not Z87 rated. Oakley makes one pair of ANSI rated sunglasses, and they're called the Ballistic M frame. So they're their military version, and that's what they're made for, but they have the Z87 stamp on them.
Yep. So Damon, you gotta leave the Maui gyms at home.
He's a Ray-Ban guy.
Yeah. I stopped doing that a long time ago.
I've got called out on sites before. I'll get out of my truck with my Oakleys on, not thinking about it, and then, hey, those aren't safety glasses, man. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm glad you called me out.
But like speaking about safety goggles and spoggles, like in the construction industry as a whole, for the most part, guys don't like wearing goggles or spoggles. They say they fog up and this, that, and other. But you got to be aware. Especially like if you're working on a construction site where you're doing some outside work, inside work, if you're grinding, buffing, where debris is flying, somebody's working next to you can throw debris into your work area.
That's exactly. It's not just what you're doing; it's what everybody around you is doing.
Everybody else is doing. So you just got to be aware that, a lot of people think that, safety's on job sites to stop you from working. My thing is, I don't want you to stop working. I'm not trying to hold you up. I just want you to go home like you came to work.
Right.
Yeah. One of the key things about the spoggles that I want to talk about too is, you got to have that strap on. So there's a strap that will attach the arms.
Quit laughing, Junior. You got a dirty mind.
This is a family-friendly show, everybody.
Right.
So you will have that. that strap that will attach to the arms of the glasses, and that's what keeps it pressed firm against your face. So it's you got to make sure that you have it on there, because if not, then it's not a spoggle. Then it's just a regular pair of safety glasses.
Right, with foam around the lenses.
Yep. And so even then, so this is some of the spots that we're going to be, diving into and touching a little bit more. And gentlemen, I'm not sure if y'all are aware of this, but there's a lot of places that you have to make sure, if you are going to have, like you're just talking about foam line and stuff like that, is that some of them actually have to be rubber sealed instead of foam line. And
depending on the type of material or environment you're entering.
Because I know in the refineries, the problem with the foam line is that if chemical got in there, it would just eat at the foam line.
Right. There's not serving a purpose. Foam line is mostly for your dust and flying debris type particles like that.
Yep.
Right.
So you got to make sure you got the right stuff.
So, that being said, like if you go in a fab shop, a lot of times they have spoggles with the foam lining, but if a piece of hot slag hit it, it's a wrap.
Right.
You got to get them, that foam lining replaced, or get the safety glasses replaced,
Yep.
So what would someone going into a refinery and working with different chemicals, so they would use like a rubber lining?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There's a rubber line. There's other types of materials. I think even one time and I could be wrong, but I think that there was one that was a Teflon material.
Okay.
That was out there. Yeah, I think that's what it's, man, I haven't been in the refinery so long.
Yeah, you guys are the refinery experts over here.
So, but yeah, there's just different materials because chemicals react different. So, maybe you have rubber, and that chemical that you're messing with might eat through the rubber.
Right, yeah. You just got to know what
caustic chemical, something like that.
Yeah, you have to know what you're working with. That goes for all kinds of different scenarios, but specifically we're talking about eye and face protection and what the materials are made out of and what the properties are and how they're going to affect it.
Yeah, but from my experience, like going into, like as a contractor going into a refinery, sometimes you don't have all the information that you're supposed to have. When you're dealing with it.
Right.
The guys that work in the refinery, they know everything they're supposed to be wearing. But sometimes contractors, they don't pass that information on to the people that's doing the work, or, it's a lot of times it's all about production. We know that. I harp on that. You know what I mean? So guys are thrown into situations without the proper PPE.
So they should go through a little better safety orientation.
Absolutely. Well, it should be a conversation between, not only the permanent guys at the refinery, but the contractors coming in. People should look out for each other better.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just like, oh, they'll do it, or
if I see you wearing the wrong thing, I'll just walk. He'll figure it out later.
Right. They don't say anything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did I just see you or hear you throw in proper planning again?
Absolutely, man. Hey, I harp on that all the time because
it's PPD, proper planning, Damon.
That's right. Because there's been so many situations that cause a person to get injured, cause an incident to happen, catastrophic at times, sometimes death, because the planning was not in place. It was just like, go do this. Or if you send somebody that don't know, you know what I mean? You got to think about everything, that you have to have in place before you actually do the work. This is a piece of paper, right? It is. This piece of paper can't protect me from an explosion.
Right.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? So I need to know that if I got this piece of paper saying that I can do something, that this piece of paper needs to know what it's talking about.
Right.
Before I go tell my people. So that's where I'm at. It's about planning and getting your stuff together. Yeah.
Absolutely. So safety glasses, safety goggles, spoggles, and now face shields. Right. So that's something that that you're going to utilize, and not just. It's not limited to just when you're doing grinding or something like that. I mean, there's chemical splash shields.
Yep.
I mean, there's different types of face shields that you'll have to use, or even if it's stuff like if you're in a full face respirator, or if you're under fresh air or something like that, that's another type of eye and face protection that you'll have to wear. So
to me, anytime you should wear a face shield anytime that there's a potential of anything kicking back at you, and hitting you in the face. I don't care if it's water. You know how you see some people spraying truck tires down and truck washes and stuff.
So high pressure hoses.
Absolutely, you should wear a face shield.
Yep.
But
Yeah, and the important thing with face shields is they're a secondary protection.
Absolutely.
When you're wearing face shield, that's your second line of defense. Your first line of defense is going to be your safety glasses. So you're going to continue to wear safety glasses behind it. So I know personally, I have a story where we had a welder on our job site wearing his welding hood, and underneath his welding hood, he was wearing his safety glasses like was required. Well, he was actually laying underneath a piece of pipe. Slag came down, went behind his welding hood, and actually landed on top of his safety glasses and melted them, but it saved his eye. So he was doing the right thing, doing everything like he should, and it saved him from potentially getting slag poured right onto his face or into his eye. So that's one instance of why it's important to wear the glasses behind the shield.
Absolutely. And you have a lot of welders that don't wear safety
Right.
glasses, and
Why do you think that is?
they don't, because they feel like, as a welder, sometimes, the lens in the welding hood will fog up and stuff like that. Convenience, you know what I'm saying? So I know this welder that didn't wear safety glasses under his welding hood. And, like at break time, right, everybody drops everything and go to break. You only get 15 minutes for break. So what ended up happening, anytime you're welding like low-high and the slag, if you let the slag cool down, it's easier to buff it off, right? So basically, the welder was finishing the pass, and he went to turn to tell the helper, leave that to after break, buff it off after break. But the helper, wanting to do good.
Right, thinking he's doing the right thing.
Right, the minute he pulled off of it, right, and he was trying to turn to tell the helper, don't buff it off. The helper had already hit it with the buffer.
And he's using one of them wire
Wire
brushes.
wheels.
Yeah.
And, one of those pieces of wire hit him in the eye, put his eye out. It basically ended his career as a welder.
Right.
Wow.
And that type of incident affects him for the rest of his life.
For the rest of his life. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and so when it comes also to the, actually, you were talking about them not a welder not wearing it because they fog up. So I was thinking about it as you say it. So everybody, you got to make sure you listen all the way through, because today's 2 minute with the lieutenant, the 2 minutes with the lieutenant is going to actually, lieutenant here is going to talk about how to combat the fog on the lenses and stuff. So
Absolutely.
So either way there, but whenever we're wearing the face shields, make sure that we are wearing the correct one, also in the sense of how it fits. So because they do make different types of face shields. They make the face shields that attach to a hard hat. They make a soft type that just goes directly over your head, just ratchets down on your head. So there are different. Don't try, because I've seen this, don't try to put the one that's made to go directly on your head. Don't try to fit that underneath a hard hat.
Yep.
Not gonna
It does
happen.
not work.
So that brings me to my next point. What I see a lot is, guys know they have to wear a face shield to be in compliance. Well, they'll just put it on top of their hard hat, and then the bottom of the shield's like level with their
Right,
nose.
right.
Is that really doing anything? No,
Right.
you might as well not even be wearing it. So make sure you're wearing it.
Slag or
Yeah,
whatever,
so making sure
what I
you're
mean?
wearing the equipment properly. There's all kinds of different manufacturers out there. Like we talked before, Jackson. We went through MSA a lot. They make really nice stuff. If you're using, MSA hard hats, they have clips that stay on your hard hat permanently, and you just do a quick connect clip in with the face shields and stuff. So
Right.
there's a lot of companies out there making really nice equipment that makes it easy to work with.
Yep.
A little piece of information. Make sure you peel the film, the blue film. I had a guy. I told him to put his face shield on when he was cutting metal studs with a saw, and he's like, I can't see out of it, and he shows it to me, and I look at it, it's still got that layer of film on. I was like,
Right.
hey, this is why you can't see, buddy.
It's funny. They also make face shields if you are working with concrete,
Yep.
stuff like that for that splash. So it's like a wire mesh face shield. So just like we always talk about, there's so much stuff out there. There's not too much today that if you need some type of safety equipment that hasn't already been invented.
Right.
Right.
We ain't getting rich off of creating something
Right.
new out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And then also when you selecting the different safety equipment, make sure it's comfortable. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people take different safety devices off because it's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Make sure that it's comfortable for you to wear, because not even thinking about it, you'll take it off.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And that could be, you know.
And that's why I'm
a
going
problem.
back to that guy's putting it over top of their hard hat instead of
Absolutely.
because it's convenient and it's not comfortable, so they just throw it on the over top. So get the right equipment for your
Even
employees.
safety glasses. I know a lot of gentlemen who have a slightly larger head, and they try to wear the normal glasses, and they get headaches because it's
It's
constantly
pinching them,
pushing
Pinching
down
the
on their
temples.
temples and stuff like that. So make sure, if you're a supervisor out there or anything like that, make sure that we're doing our part to provide the right stuff. And then lastly, as we're talking about these different types, there is a third type of protection that I've seen out there, and that's putting the little magnetic strips on your hard hat and stuff like that. So when you do pick up your face shield, if there's any metal debris, that magnet strip will catch it on your hard hat.
We've
stuff.
actually had employees, so we did not have something like that. And after you get done and you have all these metal filings and things on your face shield, you lift it up and it runs right down the brim of your hard hat and goes in your eye. So by using a magnetic strip like that, it's collecting all those filings and it's not allowing them to drop down behind your face shield into your eye. So there's all kinds of stuff out there.
And if you're one of them guys with them big heads, try the sauna.
And then also, if you have to wear contact lenses, make sure that you are still wearing the right type of stuff. I know a lot of, and going back to the refineries, if you deal in areas where there's chemical exposures and stuff like that, or any type of splash can happen, even if you're hydroblasting or something like that. If you wear contact lenses, you will always have that chance that something's going to get into your contact lens or something like that and stick on there. So I would always just recommend that you use spoggles or goggles or something like that, and not just depend on a regular safety glasses if you have to wear contact lenses. And the same applies if you have to wear prescription glasses.
Right.
So make sure, we'll get into that a little bit further down the podcast here, but make sure your prescription glasses are up to par and going up to the standards and stuff like that.
At the end of the day, the bottom line is you only get two of them. You know what I mean? You only get two eyes, so protect them.
I mean, maybe I can donate mine. How much is an eye worth nowadays?
I have no idea. Good luck with that. You see these magoos I got on, so yeah.
All right, so we talked about proper planning just a while ago, and making sure that we are set up right. So that's going to require you to go out there and do a hazard assessment. So we just keep throwing that in there, knowing what you're working with, knowing what you're working around. But some of the key things that you gotta focus on is and pay attention to what is the high risk work, or what is the constant thing that I'm going to be exposed to.
Right.
Is it just that I'm going to be constantly exposed to dust, or am I going to be exposed to molten metals or something like that? Am I going to be exposed to slag like you were talking about? The hot metals.
And it's not just what you're doing, like Damon said earlier. It's what the person next to you. If I'm an electrician, but I'm working next to a pipe fitter all day, and they're using a wire brush to,
Or using a grinding wheel.
Yeah, you know. So what's right next to you? A lot of job sites I've been on, they have a 10-foot rule. So if you're within 10 foot of a person, your PPE has to be exactly the same. So if you're on the ground grinding and you got a face shield on, and I'm 10 feet away doing something completely different, I gotta have a face shield on, and there's good reason for that.
Right, but sometimes like when you're working, in a fab shop or in a open area and you're grinding and stuff, sometimes, like you'll feel something and it feels like it goes in your eye, and you'll wipe it down and it'll stop. The irritation will go away. But sometimes you get small pieces of metal caught in your eye. I had that happen as a apprentice. I was a first year apprentice. And that once that rust ring starts to form around that small piece of metal in your eye, you gotta go get it drilled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's not fun.
Not at all. Especially when the doctor's coming at you with a shaky hand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, okay, he's about to drill 6 holes in my eye.
Oh man.
Yeah. So like Junior was saying, just it's important to do that hazard assessment of your work area, figure out what type of protection you need personally, and then just what are the different hazards. Do we have impact hazards? Do we have heat hazards? Is there hot work going on around us? Are they grinding metals? Is there chemicals? Is there dust? Is there lasers? Like that's a big one that people don't think of very often is laser use. I'm working with a drywall contractor right now. Lasers everywhere.
Or a survey company or
Surveyor,
something like that.
yeah.
But I think a good idea would be, like you go through orientation and, you know what I mean? They tell you about different things. But I think, to me, that the company should have a chart in their, office, break area, whatever, and have the hazards, like things like you were talking about, and have the type of safety glasses that you're supposed to wear. So it's a constant reminder because, if you see something a lot or see something all the time, it's totally different than somebody telling you every now and then, because certain people get to the point, I'm not saying safety professionals, but sometimes people that you work with, like I already told that guy, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to tell him again.
Yeah.
You just can't say, I told him 3 times and he didn't do it. You got to take action and make sure he's doing the right thing because, like you said, it's about him going home the way he came to work.
Right. So now, Dylan, how am I going to be able to tell if the glasses I'm wearing is the right, how am I going to know? I mean, how are you going to know that the glasses I'm giving you is going to protect you against the lasers that we're talking about?
So we talked about at the beginning, but all these glasses have markings and they have to meet certain standards and codes. So I mentioned earlier about the Z87. That's an impact rating that's on safety glasses. There's Z87.1, 0.2 for different things. There's side impact. There's prescription level safety glasses. Then there's also different letters, numbers, pluses, minuses, and they all mean something different. So, and typically there's going to be a label or something that you're going to be able to look up and figure out what all these different symbols mean. So, Junior, if you have a D3 on your face protection, what does that mean?
So that's going to protect me against, any type of drops. Let's just say chemical drops or something like that, or chemical splashes. So that's going to protect me against those types of scenarios.
Just seeing that simple D3 lets Junior know that, hey, I'm going to be good against these different types of chemical splashes. He sees a D4, that means it's going to be a dust protection type of glasses or face shield.
Better yet, D5.
Fine dust.
That's right.
That's that fine dust.
That's right.
And like I mentioned, prescription glasses a second ago. So, most of the time, your normal prescription glasses you're wearing every day do not meet the standards. That's, you tell someone to wear safety glasses. No, I got my glasses on. Well, that doesn't really necessarily protect your eyeballs, right? Because there's different impact ratings, and that's what these glasses have to go through to get that stamp of approval, that Z87.
But sometimes, like you have supervision on a job, and their mentality is, well, as long as they got a pair of safety glasses on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But the real thing is they don't understand exactly why, right?
Yep. Well, I mean, just like what we were talking about. So there's the green lens that you will typically see that's on a welding hood or something like that, or even the face shield. They'll have a solid, for torching and stuff like that. But they actually also utilize them on safety glasses, and so a lot of people don't realize that they make safety glasses with those green lenses. And to me, it's kind of a I would only use them if it was me. I would only use those green glasses if I had still had a face shield on that, because typically you're gonna use that when you're welding or torching or somewhere where
and you
slag
want your
could
whole
come.
face protected.
But you want your whole face protected in that scenario. So what does those look like? They look like the green lenses, but you'll see they'll have the W on there and then a number. So if you're familiar with that, with the welding lenses and stuff like that, there's a number 9, 10, or 11 or 12. That's just how dark it is.
That's your shade.
Yeah, that's the shade. So you'll see that on those type of glasses. There's a U, which is for ultraviolet filter and shade protection, an R for infrared heat, and then V for variable tint, and then if it's an S, it's a special purpose. And I've seen one before where in the chemical plants, and that's that we're dealing with a chemical that would eat through the regular glasses, so we had to have some special glasses.
And you'll need different shades for different applications, where you're welding, the type of welding that
Right, but the craziest thing about the safety glasses and welding, as long as I welded, I never knew about like a green lens for welding.
Yeah.
You would either wear dark lenses or clear lenses depending on the shade that you had in your welding hood. So that was news to me.
And so I was the one that brought it up, and here's my story. I was working in a fab shop a long time ago, and what ended up happening, we were doing some MIG welding. If you've ever welded, then this is going to make sense. But basically, I put the gun of the MIG in front of my line of sight, and then as I was getting ready to squeeze the trigger, I would close my eyes.
Just like you're firing a gun.
Yeah, just like if I hold your breath and
Close one eye.
And well, what I learned about 2 o'clock in the morning when I woke up and it felt like someone threw sand in my eyes was that method did not work.
Right.
And that next day when I came out, when it was daytime, the sun was killing me, and I had to wear dark glasses all day long that following day. And then the funny thing is that it wasn't until the second time that I burned my eyes.
Not once, but twice.
Is that when my boss finally came through with those glasses, and he's like, "Look, you're gonna have to wear this."
Yeah.
But I did learn that there's some cheats you could do. Not that you should burn your eyes, but if you do, you could do things like put the cucumbers or the potatoes on your eyes.
I'm good.
But it is not worth the little bit of relief you get,
Right.
Sleeping with that stuff on your
So
face.
I never had welder's flash burn or anything, but I'm gonna take your word for it.
Yeah,
It's not,
absolutely.
It's not pleasant. Doesn't feel good.
No,
Yeah.
terrible.
A story that kind of fits into this. You guys remember the eclipse we had about a year and a half ago? We had that big solar eclipse.
Yeah.
Everybody was putting on their welding hoods to
To
look
look
up
at
at the
it.
sun. You remember that? Yeah. So
Okay.
just make sure you grab the right shade number to look
Yeah.
at the sun.
Absolutely.
They put all those warnings out like do not stare directly into the sun. Well, no kidding.
Right.
Well, can you imagine how many people still
Do
try
it.
to squint a little bit and maybe look directly at the sun
Now,
or
like,
something?
I can confess to something. When I was little, when I was growing up, I remember riding in the car in the back seat, and I'd get up on my knees and I'd stare at the sun out of the back window
So, wow.
until it burned, and then I'd turn around and sit back down and close my eyes.
And then you have that little blue dot in your vision for a little while, a little green
It was
dot.
crazy.
So-
But like as a kid, I had to be 4 or 5, but I remember doing that.
So we might have to cut this next story out, but it's kind of funny. Somebody I know, when they were a younger kid, with their buddies would ride bikes a lot, and there was one boy in the neighborhood who every time he looked up at the sun, he would pass out for whatever reason. So they would
That ain't funny.
they would sit on the hillside facing the sun, and as he rode his bike past, they'd yell up at him, and he'd look up directly into the sun.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Terrible.
it's a
Wow.
terrible thing to do, but young kids, they don't really
Kids
think
are
about
cruel.
it. Yeah.
All right. Hey, so we're gonna run through because with the different, I don't want to talk about all those colors and stuff mean something. All those markings mean something. And not take a
Go
little bit
through
of
it.
time of going
Right.
through it. So the common one that you're gonna see on a anywhere office job site or anything like that is just the clear ones. That's just the regular glasses and face shield. That's just clear. That's
Yeah.
just, and all that's going to do is that is the minimum protection. That is just, hey, I got something over my eyes.
Right.
That it has some type of impact rating.
So one you'll see out in the field a lot is amber. It's like an orange or yellow color, and the purpose of that color is for low light type scenarios, and that's so you can enhance the color or the contrast so you can actually see better. So those are just people that are working in low light types of areas.
Yeah.
And then you got espresso or brown. That's for IR absorption, and it reduces glare.
Yeah, so that's that infrared heat.
Infrared heat,
that
yeah.
we're talking about. So the gold mirror, and so if you see that gold mirror, that's just to allow about 15% of light, to pass through. And the purpose of that, and I've seen a lot of, you'll see those in the Ray-Bans, so that goldish looking color, truck drivers will use it
Right.
because it reduces eye fatigue. So if it's something you're in an area where you get a lot of eye strain, that those gold mirror ones are.
They
are
always
good at
make
that.
those for the nighttime driving. They advertise on TV, those infomercials.
Yeah.
Ones that I utilized on the job site a lot were the clear mirrored ones, and most people just call them indoor-outdoor.
Yeah.
And that's because they allow like 50% of the light to pass through, and that's what they're for. They're indoor-outdoor use, so you can transition between the two if you're constantly doing that.
Yep.
Then you got the gray. The gray, they reduce glare, and they provide true color recognition.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I used to wear those a lot
I
because
was gonna say, man, those were
real good ones.
those were good ones. Yep, and then everybody's favorite. This seems to be everybody's favorite one, and that's the dark glasses. So just so y'all know, that only allows 10%. So think about some, if you got that fancy Mercedes and you got that, that real dark tint.
You know somebody like that?
No, that.
Just throwing a
It's
scenario
just throwing
out
a scenario.
there. Yeah, okay.
And that allows only 10%. That is not for nighttime use. That is not for being in a dark room, indoors. That is not what that's for.
You'll see a lot of times no tinted glasses allowed indoors, and that's because it's really reducing your visibility.
Right. Unless you want to look cool working.
Oh yeah, everybody
hey,
gotta
like the
look
old
good
saying,
working.
it's always sunny for cool people.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
look
absolutely.
good, feel good, play good, get paid good.
Yeah, that's right.
Then there's the orange glasses. Those are good for if you're working around any type of UV type lamp. Those are when you'll see the orange tinted glasses.
And then the pink ones for fluorescent lighting. You know what I mean? That's when you want to wear those around. Fluorescent. Anytime you're working, electricians use that fluorescent lighting a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, and I've seen some of those in laboratories and stuff like that. A lot of that fluorescent lighting.
Scientists.
Yep. And then the one we were just talking about, the green shade lenses.
Yep.
So we already talked about that,
welding.
Radiation and welding.
And then the one I used to pass out more than anybody else, more than any other one, because they look so cool, was the blue. Everybody wants them
Cool
blue
blue.
glasses. Those are mostly for working around semiconductors or glass blowing type of operations. But you also look pretty cool, man.
Yeah, and actually those blue ones are good. When I worked a lot of night shift, and you work in those warehouses that have that
The yellow
that
light,
yellowish lighting.
yeah.
Those blue ones, those warehouses would strain my vision. And then I didn't know this. I accidentally fell across. So I tried the blue ones one day, and I didn't even know that was what it was for, and I accidentally came across it that way.
So I don't know if you've told me that or I've read that before, but warehouse workers wear blue tinted glasses a lot for that specific reason.
Yep, no, mine was complete accident. And I just noticed it. I was like, man, I felt a lot better at the end of the shift. So
And then when you learned about it, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
yeah, yep. After I did some training on it, I'm like,
Right.
oh. So I should have went and played the lottery that day.
Your number might have came in.
Yeah. So that's just a rundown of all the colors and stuff like that. So if you're following us on YouTube and stuff like that, I'll actually put that list up, because that is we did kind of run through that pretty fast. But you might be in them scenarios where you might need to change your eye protection, and this will be just a good resource to utilize.
Yeah,
Right.
and personally, I didn't know a lot of those the different reasons for the glasses colors until recently. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there like me that just didn't realize what the specific purposes were. I knew there was a purpose, but never really researched what what color served what purpose.
Yeah, you would just wear because you were one bad mother. Shut your mouth.
Yeah, you got
Watch
it.
out now.
Yeah. I'm so cool. I pee ice cubes.
That's right.
Okay, so want to talk a little bit now, just about the additional face protection, eye protections that are out there. We did, mention spoggles, goggles, face shields and stuff like that, welding hoods. But there are additional hazards that do come along with that stuff as well.
Right.
So what are some of the things, Dame? You welded a lot of years. What are some of the common hazards that you had to deal with wearing a welding hood?
Like your left and right, like the
peripheral
Yeah,
vision.
you can't see anybody sneaking up beside
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah. Or even behind you,
Absolutely.
like people welding behind you.
Right. You could actually get flash from somebody welding behind you. Yeah.
Yep. And then fresh air mask. Man, I don't know how many years I would have to wear the fresh air masks. And I tell you one thing that, one of the common hazards besides just the peripheral, because it does knock down your vision on the edges there as well. But I would see a lot of people that had to wear glasses, and it would have to take them off and try to work without their prescription glasses on, because you can't wear them with the fresh air face shield and stuff like that, or
Right.
hood,
Right.
because it breaks the seal. So there were some hazards associated with that, and then just the heat exhaustion would also come along with wearing that for whatever reason. You would associate that with as well.
And then another type of eye protection would be like a magnifier lens. That's probably if you're doing some sort of minute, real precision type work where you need that magnifier lens, or you're like, Damon, you can't see anymore because you're getting old.
Lost that depth perception.
Put these magoos on, I'm good, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's all kinds of different equipment for your scenario.
Yeah, and there's the typical thing that they're called cheaters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is you can buy the glasses, and at the bottom basically they're kind of like a bifocal or something like that. So if you need to be able to read something up close, but you don't need it for looking down the
and
down
coming
the
up soon, old lieutenant over there is going to come up tell you guys about some cool stuff that you can use.
Oh, Dylan Nader, that's a great segue. All right, so we're gonna break away for a little bit, and we're gonna have 2 minutes with the lieutenant, and actually some of the stuff that he's gonna be talking about is some great stuff. So make sure that you're paying attention and again utilize that. So
drop some knowledge on us.
That's right.
man.
So stick and stay, and don't dare go away.
all right, well, take it away, Lieutenant Oates.
All right. Hey, welcome back to 2 Minutes with the Lieutenant. And I got a couple of more things that I can share with you guys that may be able to help you out on the job sites. Things that I've did a little researched, figured out. So the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is this stuff called cat crap, right? And it's not the nuggets from Fluffy's litter box. This is actually an anti-fog wax. You can spray on your lenses, wipe them off, and it should eliminate or cut down the fog immensely, right? So that's something you might want to take a look at. Also, they have these lenses by HardHat. They're bifocal stick-on lenses for your glasses. You can stick them on, do your work, discard them. You can use them on safety glasses, mask, the lenses in like a protective mask or something like that. Even the divers use them in their goggles. So that's another good product to look at that'll help you out, especially for people that wear prescription lenses. That might be able to help you out because everybody doesn't issue prescription safety glasses when you first start with a company or stuff like that. So that's something that'll be able to help you out quite a bit. Also, we have the face shield with the goggles. It's an attachment that the face shield and the goggles are connected. Some people refer to them as Vader masks. They fit tighter. They have an adjustable strap in the back of your head that you can tighten it down. That's about Jackson safety. And it has a V90 shield on it. So other than that, those are the three things that I wanted to bring to the table for you guys to take a look at that might be able to help you out, a little later in the field or things like that. You might want to talk to your safety professionals, representatives, to have them take a look at it, especially if you're fogging up. So that's what I have. That's your 2 minutes with the lieutenant. Appreciate you. See you next time.
Man, that's what I'm talking about, man. That was some great stuff. So when I knew you found out you were going to be talking about cat crap, I was like, what the heck is that?
What is cat crap?
Stay out of Fluffy's
litter box. Yeah, let's not confuse it. It is not Fluffy's stuff. We are actually talking about an anti-fog wax.
Piece of candy. Piece of candy.
Right, absolutely.
So, hey, but those HydroTech lenses, man, that is amazing stuff. So, I mean, right before we broke away, we were talking about cheaters and stuff like that. And so the fact that you can actually put them on anything,
right. And be able to take them back off as well. That's the nice thing. You don't have to, because someone like me, I don't need to wear bifocals, but maybe I need them for a specific instance. So it's nice to be able to
job task.
Those stick-ons would have been great for when I was just talking about going in fresh air. And those guys couldn't wear their prescription glasses. That would have been a great scenario to utilize those. So
and then that Jackson safety shield you're talking about. Just so you know, the first time I ever seen one on a job site, I was like, "Man, you can't wear a paintball mask when you're." So I didn't until he showed me. No, it's rated. It had the correct rating. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and that's a great because they're not. I've used them before. They're not as bulky as that big wraparound,
and they give you the same protection.
Yep, absolutely. So, no, that was great stuff, Lieutenant Oates. And man, you've been putting out a lot of great stuff this season, man.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff. You get my age, you've seen a couple of things.
Hey, the good thing is that you can actually see those things.
I know for now.
You know?
what I mean?
You got them
If
glasses
I take
on.
these glasses
Yeah.
off, man, what is that? I don't know. What is that? Velvet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? It'd be like old good-looking Bob. So here, so
There's your
yeah.
story,
So
yeah.
there it is.
Boom.
So a few years ago, I came up on one of the job sites that I was a safety manager on, and I walked out into the field and I seen this individual walk up with he had some clear safety glasses on, and then over one of the lenses there was a happy face sticker. And so I walked up to him and I was like, man, you cannot be wearing a sticker on one of your lenses. And he said, well, it ain't gonna do me no good. And then so when he took off his glasses, I realized that he had a glass eye. And so I was like, oh, you know what, you're right. You know, I guess that's the exception. And so he came into the safety office and we were talking one day, and he was telling me the story about how he did this. And so I don't want to go into a lot of detail. It is a pretty gruesome story, but basically what it came down to is that he was hammering a wedge or something that creates space, between two objects, a wedge. And so as he's hitting down on this, he didn't have his safety glasses on. And if you've ever utilized a wedge, or if you've ever had to do that, you'll know. I've done it several times, but there's a lot of pressure that builds up. There's a lot of stored energy that builds up on them wedges, and I've had them shoot out on me. And when they shoot out, they shoot out. They're not coming out.
Indiscriminate.
Yeah, yeah. They're not just gonna lean over. They shoot out and they'll ping across, the whole job site. And so, so when that happened, when it shot out on him, it actually ended up striking him right in his eye. And basically he said he knew it was bad because when he felt on his shirt and on his cheek, he said he felt jelly.
Yeah.
So he knew it was bad.
The cornea. And,
Yeah.
oh.
So he said he knew it was a bad situation. Ended up losing his eyes. But here's the crazy part. So I figured that he would automatically be an advocate for eye protection.
Right.
So I lost an opportunity to where talking about, hey, you should always wear eye protection. You only got one eye left, and all that good stuff. My assumption, and I learned a lesson that day, my assumption was that he already knew because he lost an eye. Fast forward a couple weeks, I go out on the job site, and if good-looking Bob, and what I gotta also let everybody know is good-looking Bob was self-proclaimed. He gave himself that name. Nobody else would have given him that name. But good-looking Bob, he was working on welding up some columns, and then he had no eye or face protection on when I walked up. And I could not believe that he was doing this grinding work and so forth without any eye protection. I was shocked. I was floored. And then I walked up and had to give him the whole speech, the whole spiel about, wearing eye and face protection. Again, my assumption was somebody who lost an eye from not wearing eye protection would already be the advocate for it.
Right.
And they weren't. He was the exact opposite. I just couldn't, I just couldn't believe it. But if you've never had to feel a glass eye, what he did that day when he was telling me the story in the safety office, he said, "Here, hold out your hand." And I held out my hand, and if this guy didn't pull out his eyeball and just throw it right in the palm of my hand. And I guess it was my fault because I was asking him, how does it work? How does a glass eye work?
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, here, I'll show you.
I would have been like that little boy that looked up at the sun and passed out. If he didn't.
We
No.
cut that out.
No,
Oh, wow.
yeah. No, I might leave
Might have to keep
it.
that in.
But even the worst part about that is after I gave him his eye back, he threw that thing in his mouth, cleaned it off, and then slapped it right back into his eye socket. At that part, I should have passed out at that point.
Yeah,
I couldn't
that's
believe
funny.
that,
But yeah, just the moral of the story there is just don't make the assumption that just because someone's had an incident like that they understand.
On board with eye protection.
I mean,
right.
we've all seen pictures on the internet and job sites where there's a grinder wheel sticking out of somebody's face or sticking out of their safety glasses because they were wearing them, or they have shards of metal brush or wire brush in their shoulder or in their face somewhere. So there's numerous stories out there and thousands of injuries that have resulted from some sort of work that could have been prevented by wearing eye and face protection.
And this will be my last story. So I was about 17, and I was changing a flat tire on my mom's vehicle, and so I'm at home. Of course, 17. I have no clue about safety at all, and so I'm using the cross or using the lug nut remover, crowbar, whatever, and so I'm pulling up on it, trying to get that lug nut off, and the whole crowbar. So just so you know, it's not a crowbar. I'm trying to think.
I just it's in my mind too. No, I know what he's talking about.
It's got a sharp point on one end.
Yeah.
And then it's got just that lug wrench on the other end.
Why can't I think of what that's called? Man, people were gonna sit at home listening to this thinking, "Wow, you guys
lost credibility."
Yeah.
Right.
So, so as I'm pulling up on that, it slips off the lug nut, and the sharp point stabs directly next to my eye. So I have a scar right next to my right eye, on my right eye there, and that thing stabbed. The sharp end stabbed right next to my eye,
so
and I
lucky.
mean bad. I mean it's like gushing blood bad.
Yeah.
And I mean I could have been good looking Bob,
Right.
self-proclaimed good looking junior, self-proclaimed good looking
Yeah,
junior.
self-proclaimed.
So but yeah, so that's my last story there. But yeah, I was probably a quarter of an inch away from losing my eye.
Yeah.
At the age of 17. So working at home. So this eye protection, all that, it's for every aspect of work or anything that you can think of. Again, whether you're in the office, whether you're on a construction site, whether you're working at home, make sure that you're using the right stuff to protect yourself. So if you're doing if you're building the a swing set or something like that for the children, or you're putting together your brand new barbecue pit or whatever it is, always make sure that you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah, and just like Junior said, even if you're doing it at home, like I'm guilty of it, and I should know better. I think it was 2 nights ago, I was out cutting new arrows for my bow. I'm using a Dremel saw. No safety glasses. My girlfriend comes out and says, "What are you doing? Aren't you a safety guy?"
Oh man!
I'm like, you know what? You are so right. Like what? Like
Wow.
I need to be called out sometimes.
Man,
like,
I've had to do that walk of shame so many times.
Yeah,
from my kids or something like that calling me out.
Yeah, aren't you a safety professional? I mean, yeah.
No, their favorite thing is they say, "What would you do with somebody at work if you saw them doing
Right,
that?"
right.
That's what they always tell me.
Yeah.
Like, "Geez,
You got me."
cut me some slack here."
So yeah, it's not just at work. It's at home too, and we all have to realize that we can have a serious eye incident not only at work but at home, and we should take the same precautions that we do at work when we're doing something similar at home. And that's kind of what I was reminded of last night when she said that to me, because I could have very easily gotten a piece of carbon in my eye.
Yep. So just to wrap this up, make sure that you are protecting yourself. Whether you're out on the job site or anywhere like I mentioned. Use that eye and face protection. This is a common thing. That we utilize on the job sites everywhere. And again, like I mentioned at the very beginning, thousands of injuries are recorded each year when it comes to eye injuries. So it is one of the common injuries, and I hate to say it that way because, again, like Lieutenant Oates said, you only have 2 of them. So if it's a common injury, well, you got a 50-50 shot of hitting one eye.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So if you're getting an eye injury, so I guess if you're gonna do it, just if you're gonna be silly and not protect it, just make sure that if you're gonna injure one, make sure you don't injure your good eye.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So no, that's terrible advice. Don't follow that advice. All right, but so hey, gentlemen, that's another one in the books, and we're back in action now that I got my voice back, and everything's all good now.
Coming to you on a regular basis now. Again.
Yep. So, hey, if you're following us, just make sure that you're hitting the subscribe button, and if you're not following us, make sure that you're following us on any of the podcasts out there: Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, all of that good stuff. Follow us on YouTube, and we're out there on 20 different podcasts out there, platforms.
Send us messages, send us feedback, let us know what we're doing good, what we need to be doing better, what you want to hear, what you don't want to hear, all that good stuff. Any message helps, any information.
Yep, and just not, you know, I know we always talk about what the mission statement is and stuff like that, but I'm going to today do a little different instead of letting the Dillinator. I know y'all like hearing his voice when he closes us out, but, you know, I want to go into a little explanation, you know, about it. So whenever we're talking about making a difference, you know, that's if I'm going to just want to make a change in my life. So if I want to go out there and make a difference, let's say today I'm going to wear eye protection. Well, that's good for me, you know, but how good is that for Lieutenant Oates? How good is that for the Dillinator, right? So if I want to go out there and make a change, you know, then what's going to happen is I'm going to go out there and make sure that the Dillinator and that Damon Oates is out there wearing his eye protection as well, right? But our biggest goal is that we want to make history, you know, and when we make history, we're going to affect the world out there. And so and that's the whole purpose that why we do these podcasts and stuff like that. So hopefully after everyone hears these podcasts or watches us on YouTube, they're actually going out there and putting on their eye and face protection, right? Because that's how we're going to make history, is when we impact the world through this. So gentlemen, coming to you from the HardHat Uncovered Studios in Washington, D.C., thanks again, Lieutenant Oates, for the 2 minutes with the lieutenant. I'm gonna go out and see if I can find me some cat crap on the internet.
But stay out of Fluffy's litter box.
All right, Dillinator, thanks again for you know, for the smooth sounding voice that you carry. So
working on it. All right, guys.
All right, gentlemen, have a good one.
We'll see you.
All right.